This is the Crossfire Podcast, brought to you by Outlaw Legacy. Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello, hello. What's up?
So, we have a special guest coming on today.
I'm so excited about this one.
And
Me too. I'm pretty stoked.
we've been talking to this guy for many years because he likes to talk about farming. He loves to talk about agriculture.
He is so knowledgeable, and he's such a cool guy, and he's just easy to talk to.
Yeah,
about
super
anything.
easygoing.
Yeah.
So we had to have him on the podcast.
Yeah, and we are actually recording from West Texas currently. We are here for a very special event of my sister getting married to this gentleman's son.
Yes. So she sealed the deal for us. We're family now.
We're family.
Thanks, Courtney and Josh.
Yeah. So our guest is Mark Schoepf. He is Josh's dad, who is Courtney's
Our new
Husband.
brother-in-law.
little ex-fiance and now husband.
Yes. So our
Is it
new
ex? Are they exes? Ex-fiance? No, it doesn't do that. No.
doesn't do that. No, our new brother-in-law.
There we go. It's very fancy.
So weird.
It is weird. Which, they're in Jamaica, so
Yeah.
they're having a great time.
We're living it up by the volcano.
It was on another island.
Yeah. So, one quick story there. Yeah, Courtney, the day after the wedding, they're leaving, getting ready to leave to go to Jamaica, and we get this text message, or actually she comes back to the house. She says, "I don't know if we're going now because there's a volcano on the island." And we're like, "Really?" She says, "Yeah, it's erupting, and it's causing. They're getting like the cruise
Mass evacuation.
Yeah, cruises like are going back to the island to
Yeah.
get evacuated off the island and things like that."
And she's like, we have to come up with the plan B, and I guess we can take our trailer, like just, go in the trailer or whatever. And Josh
does some research, or actually
he called the hotel. He called the
hotel.
resort.
And basically he was like, "So what's going on down there? Like, what, you have a volcano and is it erupting?" And the
He said, so I heard about the volcano.
Yeah.
And I guess the lady was like, "Sir, this is Jamaica." And he's like, "Exactly."
He's like, "Yeah."
I heard about the volcano.
the volcano. And she's like, "That's like on another island about 100 miles or 200 miles away." So anyways, yeah, that was pretty funny. There was a very minor panic, underlying panic going on. Everybody was like cool as a cucumber on the surface, but screaming on the inside. So
they're in Jamaica, and we're at their dining room table. Just chilling.
We're eating all their food in the fridge and drinking their beer.
Drinking their beer.
This episode is not brought to you by Shinerbach, but we will enjoy
Someday.
it someday.
Hopefully. Shiner, call us.
I saw that we were kind of sponsored here.
We were.
No,
yeah.
we're not.
We're not
yet.
sponsored.
Also,
We
Ag Texas.
need to be.
Call us.
Call us.
Yeah.
Or call
But
Josh.
It looks like we might be.
Call Josh's people. He'll get you in touch with our people.
Yeah, so we'll bring up the article that Mark and the family was talked about, and that was actually put on by Ag Texas. So, let's go ahead and get started with the interview. Well, I want to thank you, Mark. We have Mark Schoepf here as our guest speaker, and I want to congratulate you on your article with Ag Texas. That was pretty cool.
That was a cool feature.
It was a good,
Yeah.
Thank you.
You have a lot of history here in West Texas.
I do.
And big farming family. How long has your family been in West Texas?
My great granddad come to Crosby County, West Texas, here in 1927.
Wow.
From Bell County, which is now around Belton, Temple area. And the reason they came, Craig, is because the boll weevil ran them out of that country. They couldn't grow cotton anymore because the boll weevil, and there were no boll weevils up on the plains here. And all this was more new country up here, you know. I mean, a lot of this country was still buffalo grass, and there was more opportunities for farmers up here. And he come and brought his family. And the story I've been told is he come up here with my granddad. My granddad was like 12 years old at the time. And he come up here, found a place to share crop. That's how everything was back then. You know, people would break out 80 acres or whatever and get somebody to share crop it with them for halves or thirds, whatever deal they could work out. And he found him a place up here. So then went back to Bell County, told his wife, other kids, pack everything up. We're moving to the plains. And so they put everything they could in the car with the kids and everything, and they put all their household goods, beds, furniture, what little farm equipment they had. They rented a train car and had it shipped to Rawls, Texas here. And they drove the car up, and they had everything shipped. And then when they got here, they went and got all their stuff off the train car, went out to the little old shack they had rented, or on the farm they had rented, and been here ever since.
So where did they live when they got here? Did they have to?
When I've been told, the first place they come to was a little old farm over here by Emma. It's here in Crosby County. It's right down here south of Rawls. They come to that, and they was there like a year or two, and then they moved to a farm over by Lorenzo here. And evidently they moved around a lot more back then as far as, because they, you know, share crop 80 acres here, and then a better opportunity would come up, which, you know, this was all dryland country at the time. There wasn't any irrigation. And, but, you know, every time they had a chance to better themselves, they'd move over to this quarter section or this, you know, whatever. And, but that was all in this little area right around the Lorenzo Rawls area. And finally wound up on a place kind of right out here north of Lorenzo is where they pretty much stayed. And we know they'd run other farms along the way and stuff and had more kids. And, you know, I think when they come out here, my great-granddad, when he came out, my granddad was born and one sister and I think a couple of his brothers. And then the rest of them was born here on the plains. But that's where the farming started, was my great-granddad.
And what was his name?
His name was Earl Thomas.
Earl Thomas. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And they've been here, like I say, been here ever since.
So you said your granddad was, or your dad was born here, or was he?
My dad was born here,
Your dad was born here, okay.
But my granddad was born in Bell County, and he was the one that, they said my great-granddad never learned to drive. You know, he's raised with horses and teams, but my granddad was 12 years old when they moved up here.
Wow.
'Cause my granddad was the oldest son out of his family, and he drove them up here. He had to drive. That old Model A car or something. They drove. The story I've heard, they drove up here to the plains from Bell County, and he drove them. You know, the ones, and been here ever since.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, we have a similar, about the same time frame when my family came from like Oklahoma, east, like Tyler area, Odessa, and they came out to California about that same time frame. They drove on those plank roads, and you know, it wasn't. It was a.
I can remember
frontier.
my granddad telling me, you know, now I could make that trip to Bell County in 6 hours, you know, but I think it was like a 3-day trip for them, you know, to get here, because like I say, there wasn't any good roads, and
the vehicles were different back then, mode of transportation,
right. And he said, you know, they just when they stay on the side, they'd stop at dark or a little before dark and put it on the side of the road and build them a fire and cook some biscuits, and you know, that's why you did it back then, you know. They was tough people. They had to be back then because, like they moved up here and they survived through the Depression and all. I mean, it was tough, tougher than I was. Or I am.
Yeah. So that was like in 1927.
Right.
The main crop they farmed was cotton. Is that correct? Cotton. So, like a family at that time, how many acres would they be able to take care of in a year?
Oh my gosh, my great granddad, like to say, he would. Which he had, there was like 12 kids,
Wow.
You know, because I know there was 4 sisters and 7, let me think, I got to think here, man. My granddad, Pete and Burl, Jarrett, Snooks, and George. 5 boys. I guess there was 9 kids.
Those are all
Yeah,
very
4
unique
girls.
names.
Yeah.
Do what?
Very unique names.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they all
nice.
have nicknames back then. I mean, none of them go by their names. That's
Yeah.
what's crazy is my granddad, which was Earl, he went by Son because he was the oldest son. Everybody called him Son. And Pete, his name is James. I don't know why they called him Pete. I don't have any idea. One of them was Snooks. One of them was Charles, and they called him Punk. And they all had nicknames.
Yeah.
The way things were different.
We have those in our family too, like Dre.
Dre,
Yeah.
I'm Dra.
Dra, yeah.
Yeah.
We introduced Dre to Mark. That was Easter morning, and
Yeah.
he thought he kept hearing Dra, so he was Dra.
Yep.
you're always gonna be
Oh
Dre.
yeah. I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So,
But they, like I say, they would make a living on, 80 acres, quarter section. A lot of times, that's all it took. I mean, things were different, which everything's done by hand, and teams and they've told me stories when they got their first tractors and stuff like that. But that was, I can't remember exact dates, but I remember them talking about it, thinking that was pretty, because back then you had to have, you had to have your 80 acres, but you had to have a few acres. You always had to grow your feed for your stock, when you got your teams there, they have to eat too, and matter of fact, they told me they lost a farm one time because they planted a few acres of some hay grazer and some mallow and stuff to feed the team. Well, the landowner come along and said, no, you can't do that. I want it all in cotton, and he said, well, I got to have something to feed my stock. And he said, well, it's not on this farm you don't. So they left that farm and went another farm, just to get along with. But it was just different. Yeah. But like I say, nowadays 80 acres, that's just kind of in this country, 80 acres you can't raise a family and make a living on nothing like that anymore.
So where are you guys at now today? Like, how has it progressed? What are you farming? Where are you at? What are we looking at?
Well, my dad started farming, of course, when he got out of high school, but even back then we wasn't farming that much land, My granddad farmed, and then my dad started farming, and then when to come along for me and my brother to kind of start in, I can remember we had, 700-800 acres, and that was still a pretty good large size farm then. But then things started. By the time me and Brian started in the early '80s, which '80s was tough, and there was a lot of farmers going out, and so it made it a little easier to pick up a piece of dirt here and there and pick up some more land. So you rent this quarter and then you get the neighbor quarter or something, and it started blossoming in there. And then I guess probably through the 90s is when we really expanded a bunch more, it was just, which it got where it took more, And so through the 90s is when we really started growing our acreages, and it got, we picking up this place here and this place there. And then in 2000 come along, right, the early 2000s, started buying land. It was always renting land, seemed like, and never could get a place we could buy, and we finally had opportunity to buy a couple of places, and that kind of got us going again on some other opportunities. And since then, we just kept adding a little along,
It seems like the area that we're in here in Crosby County, at least, and I know maybe a lot of areas in West Texas, is that a lot of the times the families don't turn over. The next generation doesn't take over. It's kind of a dying industry, really.
It is. I mean, there's not a lot of people that stayed on the farm. You know what I'm saying? Because like you say, when I was young, I can remember riding a school bus, out here through this country, and there was something like there was a family on every quarter section, half section. There was a little farmhouse out there in the family. And nowadays you can go for miles. And I think they run a school bus now up here, and they run one south of town and one north of town. And they'll have 3 kids on that one and 4 on this one, and that's nobody's rural anymore like there was when I was growing up here. And each time another farmer quit or went out, or a family quit, their kids didn't stay on the farm. They left and went to Lubbock or Dallas and for the better jobs, and because there's easier ways to make a living than farming, and I don't know. I just always wanted to, I never thought about doing anything else. I grew up on a farm, and I never really considered doing anything else, and so, but I had a lot of my classmates and stuff that their dads farm, but they said, there's no way I'm going to do this, I'm going to go to college and get me an education and move on. And a lot of them did. And so that's kind of what you see now with that trend is nobody staying on the farm,
Right.
you know, for it to continue on. So there's not a lot of long family farms, you know, anymore.
We see that back home too. We see a lot of parents telling their kids, like, leave, don't come back.
There are some that wouldn't encourage their kids to farm, you know. I was lucky there. My parents never, they didn't make me farm, but they never told me I couldn't farm either, you know. And so it was, and the same way with my sons that are farming now. I'm the fourth generation. My sons are the fifth generation. And, you know, I never told them, no, you need to leave. And, but you know, if you want to farm, here's the opportunity, you know, and they both took it. And so far, it's been working good.
It's been good, yeah.
Yeah.
And then talk about how the labor necessity has changed as technology evolves and how your equipment changes. And
Oh gosh, yeah. You know what? We're working as much land now with the equipment and the labor we have that when I tried to farm in 1980, when it was all furrow irrigation and everything was, you know, there wasn't any minimum tillage or no till. I mean, it took a lot of labor and machinery to farm 2,000 acres, you know. And now with me and my sons, we're probably going to have this year probably around 4,500 acres or so of cotton. And, 40 years ago, it took 10, 15 employees. You know, now we're doing it with ourselves. We do have 2 employees that are long-time employees and good employees. But, you know, we're working so much more now, the equipment we use and stuff, and the irrigation. It would take an irrigation crew to take care of that much irrigation. But with all these center pivots and subsurface drip irrigation we have going in, it doesn't take the labor that it used to take, you know, over that many acres. You can do it. But, and like I say, the equipment we get's bigger and bigger. We're harvesting more with one cotton harvester that, you know, used to take, 8 or 10 to do that kind of work, you know. And so it's, that's been real, that's let us expand really. You know, because but it's bad on the side too, because there's lots of jobs that aren't here that used to be. You know, as far as farm laborers, we don't need them. You know, we don't use them. You know, and so that's good for a point, but it's bad for people that need jobs.
Right.
You know, so.
Well, at one time you were using a lot of farm labor, like that was temporary hires just for harvest and things like that.
During harvest season and weeding season, yes, you'd have to pick up by the hour people.
And if the weather wasn't right, and because you couldn't pay those guys when they weren't working, so if the weather wasn't right, they moved on to another job.
Oh yeah, that's
and it was hard.
And
to
you
keep
can't
labor.
blame them, but I mean it's hard to have dependable labor.
Right.
When I can't promise you, that we're going to do this next week because rain can come in or something, and we can't harvest, and but it's. That's why we've had to switch to this type of machinery and stuff. Is reliable labor has just gotten harder and harder to get.
Right.
So. And
what kind of harvester are you talking about? What is that?
Well, you talking about our cotton harvester?
Yeah.
Well, we run what is what they call a John Deere baler stripper, and we're, we went from like I say from my granddad to, hand harvesting cotton to machine harvesting cotton with strippers, but my dad run a 2-row, stripper, and then as I was growing up, we was running like 4-row strippers. Now we're running 8-row harvesters, and there's even some 12-rows that are out there, and we're doing it all. I can remember my dad running a 2-row stripper and throwing cotton back in a trailer or wagon, and then you have to haul the wagon to the gin, get it ginned off, and come back. Then module builders kind of come into play. And I don't know if y'all have been around them much, but and there's still a lot of those around. But that was the next method of harvesting with you get some 4-row strippers and stuff and dump in module builders. And now we've gotten this baler stripper where we're actually round baling the cotton on nonstop harvesting. I wish y'all could come out, Craig and Amanda, while we're harvesting and watch some of that operation. Y'all been here some.
Yeah, we have some footage of it actually, so we'll cut that and lay that in. But so your dad said he had a stripper, or was it a picker or a stripper?
It was a stripper.
Stripper.
See, that's the thing. West Texas never really had pickers.
Okay.
It's never been in this country. Most people think of cotton harvest, they think cotton pickers.
Right.
Yep.
Because every other area, that's what it is. But here has always been stripper cotton.
Okay.
And but now we're going a lot of picker cotton, but we're still stripping it. It's a different machine. It strips the burrs and lint and everything off in one pass, and then you have a cleaner on the stripper that'll separate the burrs from the lint, and then so you have mostly just the lint and the seed to take to the gin, to get ginned.
So your dad had basically the old type where he had to unload his own
Right.
stripper,
A lot of
right?
times they would, they had just a 2-row stripper that would throw back into a cotton trailer,
Okay.
a cotton wagon or whatever. Yep. And then they'd take it to the gin would suck it off and gin it or whatever. And then we, as times went on, we got to using baskets on the strippers, which is just blowing the cotton up in the basket, and you go dump the basket in the trailer. Okay. And then you can start dumping them in the builder and stuff. And it's just been an evolution, or it evolved from, I'm 59 years old, and I've watched it go from 2-row strippers to these massive, I can imagine what my dad's saying. He remembers when I don't remember any hand harvesting of cotton, but, my dad can sure talk about it, and of course my granddad, which he's done passed on, but, that's where they did it, especially like I was telling you a while ago about my great-granddad. When they come here, everything was hand done, and
that's why they could only take care of 80 acres.
That's right. Yeah, you can't do that, and then you'd have to hire a crew to help pick that or pull it, by hand. Plus, there's always fighting weeds too, and having to hand weed everything, and it's just there wasn't any chemicals at the time that you could use to control all that stuff, and so everything was just a hand up. But anyway, now we're using this big monster harvester, what I call it, that's really increased efficiency,
and cut down on your labor, which is huge.
Gosh, yeah.
That's the biggest part.
Yeah, that one machine. Even my dad said, I'll tell him how much we gathered today, or we harvested so many bales today, or whatever, and he just blows their mind that they can. He said, that was more than I used to make my entire crop, and we could do that much. A lot of times we could do that before dinner.
Yeah.
How quick you can, how big and improved these machines are.
How efficient they are.
Yes.
Your crew typically runs about 24/7, right? When you're harvesting, you circle out.
We do. My sons, they'll run that machine. When you're stripping cotton, you have to have humidities so low. And so usually if humidity is lower than 50% or so, that stripper's going. It don't matter if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, it's running. Mm-hmm. But, they're expensive machines. You can't buy that and have it sitting there. It has to be going.
Yep,
I mean,
right.
that's how you get your efficiency out of it is you run it and run it hard,
And when you have good weather and ideal conditions,
You take advantage of that as well.
You take advantage of it because it will change. I can't do the weather in West Texas will change. So, when you got cotton ready, you want it out.
Yeah.
Because you don't know when the next thunderstorms come in or whatever. So
you don't want to take a chance of ruining that year of effort.
Yeah, you put all year getting that crop to that point to where you can harvest it. You want it out. Mm-hmm. And quick as I can get it in that round bale, I feel like it's safe.
Yeah.
And so that's our. But, it's not just our strippers or our cotton harvesters. Our tractors we're running. We just brought home a new planter the other day, Craig. You've seen it. We bought a new one this year. It's a 16-row, 40-inch planter. Who would have? My granddad thought there's no way you could do something like that. Or my dad. But it's coming. I mean, it's funny how this stuff keeps evolving. I bought some tractors. We bought some tractors back in 08, 09. I thought, man, they can't improve on this anymore.
Yeah.
Well, and then you get those 15 models. Man, they made this and nice. These are better.
Yeah.
And then you get the 18 models. Man, they're even better. It just amazes me how they just keep evolving. Now, some of the technology on them, it's getting kind of past me. I mean, they're doing things now with prescription farming and stuff, Craig, that blows my mind. I'm wondering how much of that is really necessary, but it's out there. I mean, it's available if you want it, Right. And the younger guys, John and Josh, they're more into that than I am, I guess I'd say, because they're younger and
early adopters, and it's efficient. And
Right, yeah.
Well, and like you said, you have to take advantage of every acre you have.
Right.
The amount of inputs you put in is where you get your money back out. So
Exactly.
yeah, it's an interesting process. I know they're starting to get into that in California as well. It's a little bit more difficult in the permanent crops, but they are doing it with irrigation changes and things like that, so they can have this valve with these types of emitters. You can have this set with that type of. So if you're on sandier ground over here, you can do it this way, and variable rate irrigation is I think is what they call it.
There you go.
But
and we're kind of doing the same thing I hear, even with like these pivots and stuff. You know, you can put these computers and stuff on them that it'll get to a certain spot, and that pivot will speed up, you know, and then it'll slow down when it gets over here where it's been making better cotton, you know, or speed on through there. If you have a little wash or low area, it'll speed through that because the water kind of runs dead anyway. Well, but up on this little crown where the water runs off, it'll slow down, give it a little more water. I mean, it's just stuff you wouldn't have thought of years ago. It just keeps evolving.
yeah, well, and like your sprayer, that impresses me so much because you're talking how wide is that?
Mine's a 100-foot boom.
100-foot boom.
100-foot boom.
And every is it section or is it each nozzle has a GPS on it?
Well, each section.
Each section, okay.
Each section, and they don't have it's as I'm spraying, I'm mapping everything, you know. And but my boom is set up in 7 sections. Now they have them now that it's every nozzle will work that way. But as I spray into some ground that I've already sprayed mapped, it'll start cutting my boom off in sections. So if you're working point rows or working into a corner or something like that, it stops all the overspray, which saves cost for one thing. You know, no point in spraying it twice, or there's really, you know, you'll do damage a lot of times spraying it twice. You know, so there's a lot of and our planter, that new planter we got, the same way. If I'm planting into point rows, it'll start cutting row units off as I get into that
what you've already done.
Yeah, what you've already done.
That's incredible.
I call it mapping. It's already been mapped because it's painting a picture. As I'm spraying, it's painting a picture on my screen there of what I've sprayed, you know. Mm-hmm. And anytime I can get on the farm and make an outline, then get out there and just start spraying anywhere or whatever. And it will not over double spray anything because it'll just cut off, you know, as I go into spray ground already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And, go ahead.
That's the technological advances or the efficiencies are pretty awesome because it allows multiple people to go in and do the work. Whereas before that was knowledge where, say, like irrigation, the person who's irrigating knows the different spots on the farm where, it's softer over here. I've got a valve that's different over here. But now that you've got this technology that knows that, almost anybody can go in. So say you have a longtime farmhand who's doing this labor and they, pass or they leave or whatever. You're not relearning all of that information. And I think we see that in a lot of, not just farming, but, we see that with PCAs. We see that in a lot of different industries, people who have all of this knowledge and they bottle it up and then they retire or they die or something and they take that with them.
There's so much man hours and knowledge that's lost with that. Yeah. So we have that with a few of our clients where they're asking us, like, how can we capture their knowledge?
Yeah.
How can we transfer that to our newer, younger PCAs or our representatives or our farmers? As farmers age out their sons, how can we transfer that knowledge to their sons?
How can we help make the transition easier and faster so that when they come on, it's almost like they're not skipping a beat? And I think these technologies allow for that.
These are tools they could use.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say, we're gathering data as we're harvesting with the stripper or when we're combining, and stuff. It's gathering that data.
It knows what your yield is at that specific point in the field.
Yes, exactly. And that's how they write those prescriptions and stuff that they use to plant the next year. Well, it knows, Mark, your yield was a little lower on the northeast corner of this, so let's put a little extra fertilizer on that. So now when I'm spraying it, I set my sprayer to put out X amount of gallons per acre. But if you run you can do it through prescriptions. It knows to put it a little heavier over here, and you don't need quite as much fertilizer down here where the yield was good, but it knows. It's crazy how it can do that. Now, a lot of that stuff we're using, some of it we're not, but we're gathering that data. So, you can build a data bank and know kind of what to do,
Year over year, it gets more precise. Because
it does.
Yeah.
It does.
And maybe you got hailed out at one spot, so maybe it realizes, okay, well, you didn't have very much cotton there, but, you know, the next year maybe it gains back to what it was normally, what the average would have been.
Right.
So you get your, year over year, your averages help you out with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That is interesting.
And that all comes from data. And, you know, and like I say, that's not, you know, that it's amazing to watch it work, you know. So.
Yeah, it's amazing what your dad used, what your granddad used, to compare what you're using now.
I don't imagine what my kids are going to do.
Sure. Or your grandkids.
Really. Yeah. I mean, because I remember watching my dad get on the combine, you know, trying to cut some mallow, and I'm thinking, that's a nasty job. I don't want to do that, you know. I'd hate to, out there riding in that old dust and hot and a little old bit. And now we've got this big, massive John Deere combine that's, I mean, it's just as comfortable as any office you ever sit in. Right. I mean, and our tractors are the same way, you know. One of my main tractor drivers is an employee of ours, and she's a woman, you know. But sitting on that tractor is it's just like being in one of your nicest Cadillacs you can drive out there nowadays. You know, you control your climate, you control. It's still work, but I mean, it's not like you're out there in the dirt and physical, you know, and it's different than it used to be.
Right. You have a husband and wife team, and they have a lot of knowledge because you are leasing ground that they used to work.
Right. Oh yeah.
And that was pretty helpful to have.
Oh yeah, their
working knowledge.
That's employees we have are I rely on them a lot, you know, for what they know, you know, and like you said, and you know, it's nice not having to show them how to do something because they know, you know, they grew up doing it, so they know, but the machinery now, that's what blows my mind is what's my kids gonna see in their lifetime, because like I said, I'm thinking now, well, they can't get no better than that. Mm-hmm. You know, it's topped out. That's max. No, it's not max. Things keep improving.
There's more coming. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
How frightening though to put all of this trust into something as everything evolves. You know, like I would be terrified to be in a tractor for the first time and actually trust that this thing is going to do its job, they claim to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Believe me, I used to have to grab the wheel. I mean, that was what you did, you know. But now I get it. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I get everything programmed. You know, you get on that tractor and I'm programming. I'm in, you know, farm 1313, and I'm going to work the northeast pivot. I put it all in there, and it brings up those lines, and it's got it, you know. And
you just sit back and take phone calls.
You can. I mean, you really can. I mean, it's just you get it going and. You turn it around at the end, and you push your button again, and go. You know, till you get that one done. And it's, you know, but you have to have the intelligence, I guess, to do all the programming. You know, but once you get that figured out, it's easy. But like I say, my dad never would have thought there's no way you could do something like that. You know, and it's just, and my granddad sure didn't. You know, and my granddad he was flabbergasted when he seen a tractor with a cab come along. You know. Much less one like we have now. So
air conditioning and radio and all that stuff.
Right? Yeah. You get to plug your phone in.
Yeah, charge your phone
Well, you have to because it'll die because you're using the iPad, you know.
Oh, that's right, you are. Yeah, everything is, well, like I say.
It's all app-based.
So I find it interesting that with the advancements that we've had in technology and agriculture, we see decline in rural America. You know, we see people leaving the farm, we see less farms, but there are so many advancements to help it make it more efficient. I get it on the workforce side, but how have you seen, you know, where you're from, the small town, how has it changed in the last 20 to 40 years, or even more than that?
Oh, my gosh. It's like I said, like we touched on this a while ago, people are leaving the rural areas. Mm-hmm. I mean, we don't have our little community here of Lorenzo. When I grew up, my dad grew up there. You know, I guess when it was in its heyday. And then when I grew up, I guess the decline had started, but you didn't really notice it that much because there was still lots of businesses and stuff. And it's hard to keep businesses in a town when there's there's no growth. Mm-hmm. There's no thriving. No new people are moving in because there's no jobs. There's no new industry. The farming is our main industry here is farming. Well, as it needs less and less labor force, of course, people are going to leave, you know. And can't blame them. I mean, you know, the better paying jobs are at Lubbock, Dallas, San Antonio, Houston. I mean, they got to go, you know. Everybody said, well, I hate to see little old Lorenzo die, but I mean, it's just like a sign of that. I mean, it's not just Lorenzo; it's all these rural communities. But it's, you know, what hurts Lorenzo, I guess, is it's too close to Lubbock. Makes it too easy. You don't have to have business out here because 25-minute drive.
Yep. Are all the conveniences of town. Yeah.
I've got everything you need. And so it's hard to keep something out here, you know, but it's too close to Lubbock in a ways, and it's too far for something. You know, if it was, you know, I wish sometimes if we was further out, I think we'd have more business because where it's not as convenient to drive to Lubbock. You know,
You have to be a little more self-sufficient.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But as far as people leaving out the rural areas, I can't see that changing. I mean, I don't see that. Because there's nothing here for them unless you're really farming, and it's taking less of those, so it's hard to have any growth.
Yeah. But on the flip side, we also see that the people that have stayed in these small communities, and we see them all over, you know, the Midwest and even out in California, these small rural communities that are so prevalent in agriculture, there's a huge, like, strong tie between the community and ag.
Oh, yes.
And they're super supportive. It's weird. It's weird how, you know, it correlates where, you know, people are leaving, but also the people that are there. That's what, you know, their life revolves
That's
around.
pretty much all that's left in Lorenzo is agriculture.
That's
right?
it.
I mean,
That's
there's
it.
nothing else to support as far as businesses. Every business that's there supports agriculture in some
Is because of the farm. Yeah. You got your cotton gins, your Don Deere leadership, your ag supply, your co-ops, you know, but they're there because of us farmers, you know. And without, you know, there's not a. But I can remember when I grew up there was a department store downtown. You could buy your school clothes and stuff like that. There was a movie theater, 2 barber shops. And
Wow. I would have
everything was
never
different.
guessed.
Do what now?
I would have never guessed after
Oh,
driving
yeah.
through
Yeah,
town.
not driving through town, you would never see that, huh? Yeah.
But it's not anymore. You know, it's just they're all ag base. If there's a business there, it's ag base, which is your banks, and then we still keep it. We still got a little school there. We're trying to keep that going as long as we can, and
Which Deanne retired from, right?
yeah, she did. She retired this last year, and but she taught there for 25 years. You know, and it's a good little school. It's just the enrollment just keeps falling and falling and falling.
Families start leaving.
Yep.
Yep. Well, the real reason we're here in Texas is because my sister Courtney married Josh, which is Mark's son.
Right.
And we were here this week from Easter on to celebrate that. And I think Mark got a real sense of California, and we had, I don't know how many we had 7 motorhomes here, and
There were about 20 people at any given time.
at any
here.
given time,
And like 13 dogs running around.
Yeah.
minimum of 20 people. I think at the most we probably had real close to 50. And I know Josh is, well, they're in Jamaica right now on their honeymoon, and I think he couldn't find a further place away to go. So,
No, it's been a real joy. I mean, it's, I'll say this, California travels well. I couldn't believe that many people come out, you know. Because this, what is it, 1,400 miles or so?
about 1,200.
1,200
1,200.
from our house to your house.
Yeah.
That's,
I think we had 53 people come from out of state, and that included like 8 from Hawaii.
okay.
Yeah, we had everybody from Florida to Hawaii,
Arizona,
and
California.
pretty much everybody between. So
But I think it worked out perfect and had perfect weather here for it, you know.
Couldn't have asked for
Worked
better
out
weather.
good, and they're happy. You
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Courtney, talking about here, Craig's sister, she my new daughter-in-law, she came from California out here to go for education.
right.
She
She
went to
come out
Tech.
here to Texas Tech to get her degree, and then of course she met Josh, and that's kind of how all this got started. And evidently, she's not going back to California now.
Nope.
She's
No.
here. So
And it's funny because when we brought her, Craig and I brought her out to orientation, and
Yeah.
she was angry. She didn't want to be here. She didn't want to talk to us. Remember, she was just like, "Take me home. I'm not coming back."
Yeah, there's nothing here for me.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of her
That was-
thing.
yeah, and here she is.
She didn't have any friends coming out really. Same with me. When we came to Texas Tech, or I came to Texas Tech, I didn't have any friends, so I kind of knew what she was going through, how she was feeling, and there were some tears that day at orientation. And then all of a sudden she embraced it.
Yep. And then last night she changed her last name on Facebook. And I thought of, when we came out to orientation, how the times have changed.
Yep. Yeah. People ask, well, is she coming home? I said, well, she's dating this cotton farmer out there, small cotton farmer.
There you go.
And she's like, man, not coming home.
Yep.
Not at all. So,
Well, we're lucky to have her.
well, you don't have a choice anymore. So.
No, she's here.
I think we all win in this scenario, though, in this marriage, because we get you guys too, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you came out to visit us last year.
Yes.
What did you think?
I come out there in September. That's my first time to that area of California. I have been to Southern California before, been several years ago. And that area, y'all are out there, that Central, what do you call it, Central Valley or however?
Yeah. Central Valley.
I'm very impressed with that country. Southern California, I've been there. I've
Done that.
There's a whole different
put it this way, I
breed
wasn't that
down
impressed
there.
with that. I mean, too many people. I mean, I'm from out here where we're spread out. I can't handle that many
Yep.
people, you know. But that area through the agriculture through there, and how vast it is, and how diversified it is, it just blew my mind what y'all can do out there with y'all. Greg, you come out here, what do you see? Well, you see cotton as far as you can see it.
Right.
Yep.
This is the world's largest cotton patch, but that's what we're prone to out here, or we're geared up for. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? But out there, y'all are so diverse in what y'all can grow and do, and it's just a different world. Farming is farming. I don't care if you're in Minnesota or California or Texas or Louisiana or where, I've met farmers from all over and been to different meetings here and there and stuff. And everybody's a farmer's a farmer, but everybody's challenges are unique and different.
Right. Yeah, you had met a cotton farmer out there
Yes.
in September, and you were asking him, well, they're growing a lot more yield,
Oh, yeah.
but they have more input, and you're
More
like,
input,
that's
yeah,
it. It's
yeah.
inputs and outputs. It's what you put into it and what you get
Yeah.
out of it. That's how you make your money, and it's that's farming, inputs and outputs.
Oh, yeah.
That's all it is.
But isn't that life?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, way
Not
to
get
take
so
that.
deep. The fortune cookie here.
I can remember me and my wife was on a little holiday one time. We was in southern Louisiana, went into a place called Jeanerette, Louisiana. We got to talking to a sugar cane farmer. We pulled out, that was harvesting sugar cane. I never been around cane farming in my life, and I just pulled over and just kind of watching. Well, sure enough, here come the farmer driving up. And I wound up spending 3 hours with him, 4 hours. He took us to town to the sugar mill and showed us all that and the process and stuff. And what he was just interested in what I do up here is what he does down there. Because, like you say, farmers are farmers. They're interested in how you do it or what you do, and stuff. But like I say, everybody's challenges are different. But you said it, inputs and outputs.
Yep.
But anyway, it's just neat. And I've visited with farmers from Mississippi or North Dakota, or the weather challenges some of them have is different. We're what I consider a what would you call this? High desert. This is what we're at here. And we don't get to make a lot of dry land. We don't get to make. I mean, our irrigation is not like some areas where irrigated is irrigated. That can make it with no rainfall. We can't. We have to have some rainfall to help us in this country, because if we have to rely totally on irrigation, it won't work. We can supplement our rainfall with irrigation. That's the better word for it. Mm-hmm. But I was when I was talking to that cane farmer in Louisiana, and I did notice a few irrigation pumps along, And I asked him, I said, well, do y'all ever have to irrigate it? Because I said these pumps. And he said, oh, man. He said, those pumps are for getting water off the fields, not putting water on the fields.
Wow.
It blew my mind. I can't imagine getting water off your fields.
Have to worry about that.
But, we're getting 70, 80 plus inches of rain a year.
Right.
It just, so there's sometimes they have to get the water off. And it just blew it. And I said, where do you put it? He said, well, they put it in those lagoons and gullies, wherever they call them, and get rid of it. But it was just, like I say, it's neat hearing other people's challenges.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that is a challenge in our area. So you say it's so diverse, but so are the needs and the opinions and all the politics that come with it. So when we talk about Midwest agriculture, you talk about soybeans, corn, in your area specifically, cotton. There's so much camaraderie, unification behind those crops that you can get things done in legislation or different areas of what you're trying to accomplish. But when you have something planted every 40 acres, each one of those, there's the rice commission, there's the almond board, all these
walnuts,
different
pistachios, leafy greens,
and dairy.
Yeah.
Sometimes what's good for them is not always good for other farmers or other areas that are, So that's a challenge that we have to overcome in California, to where
we're all fighting each other. We're not an industry as a whole.
I see that. We're out here. You have your Plains Cotton Corps, and you have your National Cotton Council. Then you have your grain sorghum producers and your soybean producers associations and stuff that will lobby and help us. Because like I say, when people think of crops, they're thinking corn, wheat, beans, and cattle.
Yep.
And then you have some of the other ones, your cotton and your hogs and stuff will come in, your chicken farmers. But out there, like I say, I driving a few miles down the road, you'll see lettuce and onions and cabbage and broccoli and all the different vegetables. And then you have all the different orchards, with the walnuts or pecan or peanuts or pistachios. And
we got Deanne here.
Oh, she did? We need to stop for a minute?
Yeah, let's pause for a second. Well, we just had a nice visit from Mark's wife and Josh's mom, so same person.
I was going to say, let's put it person.
Does sound funny that way.
Yeah. So, where were we?
Okay. I don't know.
Do you have any other questions?
I do. Do you think people, first-time farmers, at this point and how expensive it is to get into everything, do you think that first-time farmers, people who don't come from farming families, can farm? Or do you think if you're born into it, that's the only way it's going to continue?
Well, I really don't think somebody can start without some help. I won't say that somebody that hadn't farmed can't get into it, but they got to have some farmer that's willing to take them under their wing.
Some sort of mentor.
And kind of bring it. And there's been some of that. I know there's a kid over here from Crosby that wanted to farm, wanted to farm. And a guy over there was starting to look at, didn't have any kids, was going to farm. And started, so he kind of took him on as an employee and kind of helped him get started and going. So it can be done, yes. But you got to have somebody willing to help you.
Because the capital to get in with the equipment and everything, it would be impossible.
You can't go borrow the money and do that. You got to go start Slow.
And can you hire it out? That's not making much money at the end either, is it? So
if you're talking about custom planted or custom spray, no, you can't make that work, Craig. It's just not
enough left at the end of the day.
So it would be awful hard for a young man that wanted to farm that didn't have some kind of help. Most times when somebody starts farming, it's like my sons, they could kind of grow into it. So I did. I grew into it with my dad, and it's just they can't get enough capital to do it without somebody helping them.
Now, looking back at where you were right out of high school, starting to farm. So you started farming right out of high school, right?
Yes.
What do you wish you would have known then, or what would you go back and tell yourself then at that time?
Oh my goodness. I took on a farm. I got out of high school in May of '80, and I worked 1 year. I'd done a little work down here at the John Deere dealership and stuff like that, and I thought, well, I'll see, but I could tell right quick this ain't what I want. I want to farm, So in 1982, I rented a farm up here kind of back west where my mom and dad used to live, and it was a rough farm. I mean, it was, but you know, being a new farmer, you take what you can get. I mean, you can't get the prime stuff. You got to show what you can do and then work your way up. But I took a farm that was rough. I thought nobody else wanted it. It was that rough, you know. So I thought, well, I'll take it. You know, what the heck? And but it worked. I mean, that's what got me going. You know, at least I got my foot in the door, and then you know, rocked along there a year or so and rented another little farm, and another farm kind of got going that way, you know, with my dad's help, you know, because I couldn't go out and buy a tractor or whatever, but you could rent a little farm and use my dad's stuff a little bit to kind of go, and then he can start accumulating a little of your stuff along. So like I was talking a while ago, that's how you get started, you know. And what I would do different, the 80s was tough. A lot of farmers didn't survive the 80s. If I'd have been a married man and had family in the 80s, I might not have survived it. But I could live on nothing, and I did pretty much. I mean, you know, because it didn't. It don't take much for one young guy to live, you know. But anyway, I survived it. We survived it, and then rocked along. I got married in '90, and then started raising kids, but things kind of turned around. You know, we got a little started making some pretty good crops, and got more for our cotton, you know, and it worked out. I don't know if I'd change anything, except for just there was an opportunity or two that come along that I wish I might have took. You know, it was scary. It got scary when you was trying to survive. Well, I don't know if I want to grow right now because I was in that hang on mode. You know,
You're comfortable.
Yes.
No, it's out of fear.
Right.
Yeah.
I was scared to take on too much more because, yeah, man, I'm already borrowing this much, and if it's going to take quite a bit more to, you know, there was a place come up or two, and I remember talking to Dad and my brother about it, and should we pursue that or should we not pursue that? And it's tough decisions, you know. And there was probably a place or two that I wish I should have took that I didn't, and there was probably a place or two that I took that I shouldn't have took. You know what I'm saying? But it's just. I don't have any regrets, I'll put it that way, you know. It's just, but I don't know if there's anything I'd change. It's easy to look back and say, well, I should have done this or I should have done that.
Yeah.
Of course, you can't do that. It's too late then, you know. But all I can say is it all worked out.
So what bit of advice would you give John and Josh at where they're at right now?
Oh, my gosh. And I've told this, I said, boys, just treat people like you want to be treated. Be fair, you know, especially when you're dealing with landlords and landowners and stuff, you know, because they're in this to make money also, and you know they worked their whole lives to pay for that land, and now they want that land to pay them, and that's what I want. You know, what land I've accumulated, I want someday to let my boys farm it and let that land pay me, and I'll spend my life getting it paid for. Now it's time for it to pay me. And I said, just treat people square, and they'll treat you square back, and that's all I try to tell them. You know, be honest with people, and just, you know, it comes around. You know, there's, and I'm not saying I'm not talking bad about any other farmers or anything like that, but you know, that's what my dad told me way back in the Mark. Just treat people square, and you know, and then you expect to be treated square. So that's all you can ask, and I've told my boys that many times. Just do what's right.
And what's it like working with them? I mean, you've raised them, so I mean, what?
Well, I know, but working with family is not always easy. You know, it's just because there's different ideas. You know, well, I don't want to do it that way. Just that's the way Dad always did it, and I had that with my dad. You know, but you learn to walk around. You know, you got to give and take a little bit. I'll say that because it's not always going to be easy. What do you want? What does Josh call it? You have to butt heads there once in a while,
Yeah.
And say, well, no, that ain't the way we're going to do this. But it's nothing you can't overcome. It's a little discussion, you know. And we're easy. I know a lot of farmers and sons, or fathers and sons, that don't work together because they just don't work. I mean, they love their sons and all that, but they don't work together. But with us, it's always been pretty easy. I guess my dad, you know, because I farmed with my brother. And my dad, and you know, it's funny. We was third partnership, you know, 33 and a third %, all of us. But when you have you're 33.33 and 33.33 and 33.34. There's a reason. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if there ever was anything with Dad, what do you think? And that's the final decision, I guess, But like I say, me work with my boys the same way, It's just we're going to come to an agreement and work through it,
Right.
But like I say, just they ought to be. When my boy was talking to me about farming, I said, guys, farming, there's tough times, there's good times, and you have to ride these cycles, But I said, it ought to be an exciting time to be a farmer because, for one thing, what I've heard stats by the year 2050, how much more population is in this world is going to have and stuff like that. Well, let me tell you, they're not making more dirt. I mean, and these people have to eat and wear clothes. Mm-hmm. And so it ought to be an exciting time to be a farmer because there's going to be a demand for what you're growing. Has to be. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at long range stuff, because the world's population, y'all know how fast it's growing. Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, those people have to eat and they have to wear clothes. So that it ought to be, the future ought to be good. There's always going to be cycles, but for the most part, it ought to be good.
It's interesting you say that, but there's a lot of people who don't know where their foods come from, their fiber comes from.
Well, see, is that our fault for not educating enough, not educating them?
Well, what do you think? I'm curious to see what you
I think it is, Amanda, because we've not done a good job of advocating for our industry. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people think, well, I'll just go get my food at the grocery store. I don't need a farmer. Yep. They don't understand where that chicken comes from or where that steak is produced or where those green beans come from. I mean, it has to, right. Or where that shirt comes from. Mm-hmm. I mean, maybe we need to work on that more. I don't know where to start or what the answer is, but that ought to be, and they try things all the time around here, is ag in the classroom and stuff like that, because you got to start when they're young, telling them, you can't just go to the store,
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there is a lack of education, but I think a lot of that is we're not telling our story well enough.
Exactly.
We're teaching. I really like the Ag in the Classroom program. I think it's great. I agree with you that I think we need to start with kids, but I think we have to humanize these industries and we have to humanize our farmers and we have to say, like, hey, look at the faces who are doing this for you. We're also doing this for us. Like the food that we grow for you, we're also growing for our families as well. And we don't always necessarily, like, we see campaigns out there that say, like, thank a farmer, hug a farmer, or you eat because of us. And I feel like that's kind of an abrasive approach. I don't always necessarily think that farmers want a thank you, but we want trust. We want you to trust us to know that we are putting together the most sustainable, healthy, efficient product for your family, and we want you to trust us to share that, whether it's clothes or food or milk, whatever. We're doing this for you, and we want you to trust that we're doing it for you, that we're doing a good job for you. And I think that there's all this talk about corporate farms and factory farms and stuff like that, and I think it's all just jargon, it's all just noise, and it's like that because we don't do a good job of showing the faces who are behind these products. And I think if we did that a little bit more, if we really were more open to telling our real story, that people would connect to that. But I think the old school generation, and we see this a lot, even, with Jake, they're very private and it's nobody's business and we do what we do and nobody needs to know about it, which is fine. But we've done that for so many years that nobody knows what we do.
Exactly.
So we're playing catch up. And I'm not sure that it'll ever really change. I think that there's been a movement to try to create change, but we've got a long road ahead of us to kind of get just caught up.
Yeah.
What do you think about the whole sustainability thing, though? I've been in meetings. I was in a meeting here not long ago with some buyers for some big major Calvin Klein, Levi Strauss, some sustainability is a big thing to them. They want to know.
Yeah, I think it's just a buzzword, and I think that there is opportunity with sustainability because there is not a set definition. And exactly. I think it is there's an opportunity for the industry to come up with a definition for it that applies kind of to everybody. Everybody's on the same board, which I don't think it's ever going to happen. But maybe if it's just a niche, maybe if it's just, a cotton organization who's like, we're going to set a definition for what sustainability means. Because right now I think it's just a buzzword. It's just a marketing word, and nobody really knows what it is other than it seems like it's supposed to be used. And, we feel better about it when it's on the label. But I think when you set the definition, you are in control of what the message is. And I think it's a good thing. I know that there's a lot of people, especially in ag, who they roll their eyes at the word. But I think, it's just marketing terms.
There's an opportunity. There's an opportunity within that word or that marketing ploy, just because, you can create what sustainability is. I mean, it's,
if you don't, somebody else is. And I would rather that, somebody who is educated and knows what they're doing and knows how they're growing it is the one setting the limit or setting the definition, rather than someone, at Calvin Klein who's like, I want you to meet this. Well, how did you get to this? What, what's the criteria for this and why? So, yeah. But
we showed them some pictures of some organic farms and stuff. And it blew their mind. When people think of organic, they think, well, that's got to be healthier. That's got to be better. Well, we showed them slides of some organic farms and we showed, and they figured out it's not necessarily so. It's not better because it's organic. It's where you got farms just blowing away and washed out and stuff because it's organic. They can't, they don't realize what it takes to maintain this ground and this dirt and this. There's more to it than what they think. Or just because they say organic doesn't mean it's better for you,
right?
Or it's safe,
right?
But I'm like you when you mentioned that trust a while ago. We're as farmers, we're going to be caretakers of this land because I'm wearing the same clothes general public wears. I'm buying the same groceries they buy. I'm not going to do anything to my land or that's going to jeopardize my family. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah, you're putting your livelihood into these fields.
Exactly.
Because you're looking at the long term. You're going to farm these for 50, 100 more years with your family.
Yes.
It's not like you're going to be stripping the ground with everything it's got.
It's not about making a quick buck. It isn't. Contrary to popular belief, it's not about
that. That's what people think is, we're a family farm, and we're, like I say, I want my farm to sustain, for the next generations. And like I said, I'm not going to do anything to my land that's going to hurt it, or harm. I'm constantly trying to improve it,
right.
So I wish more people understood that. We're not just raping this land. That's not what we're doing out here. We're trying to grow cotton, sustainable. I think that's
be sustainable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree with you. Yeah. It's your practices are good.
Right.
You're taking care of your land. You're being good stewards of the land.
That's the word I was looking for. Stewardship a while ago, because I want my kids to farm it and my grandkids. Courtney's kids,
or at least have the opportunity to,
or at least have the opportunity. You're right.
Yep.
I mean, like I said, that's what I was touching a while ago. It ought to be exciting to be a farmer today, because the expansion of this world and this country or this planet, as far as population, has got to be taken care of. And where they going to get that from? From farmers. They got to have it. I mean, you can't make corn. You have to grow it.
Right.
So you can't make cotton shirts. You have to grow it.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, there's synthetic stuff, but no, we don't. We don't buy that. Just kidding.
No. But there, like I say, it ought to be. I want people to understand that we're trying to take care of this land the best we can, and because like I say, we want it for our kids. So, and we're not going to do anything to that land to hurt it.
Right.
Right. In fact, you're trying to make it as lean as possible, because that way it keeps everything cheaper on the other end for you to make more money too. So
Exactly. I mean,
keep
we have
farming.
to, it is a business. We have to make money. We can't do this because we like doing it.
Right.
I mean, I like farming, but I mean, I can't do it because I like it. I have to make money and rake. I have bills to pay just like anybody else does. We have to make money at it, you know.
Yep, but you also have groceries to buy, and you're buying the same things that everybody else is buying. So yeah, it's a circle, it's a cycle. Well, I'm excited because I'm excited about the future because I do think that there is going to be there's lots of room for ag in the future. I agree with you on that, and I'm excited to see your future grandkids, our future nieces and nephews, continuing on this legacy that is already so like long and rich here. So it's exciting.
I agree.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and sincerely, thank you. And I'm so excited to be a part of the family now. I know we're happy to have you guys, and we're excited to see what Josh and Courtney and the rest of y'all,
too.
their future looks like.
And Craig, Amanda,
Dre.
y'all know y'all are welcome back to West Texas anytime.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Come
that.
see us, show you around.
We'll be back.
We'll visit you. I hope you
Yeah.
do. And
Next time we'll camp out at your house.
Okay, and I'm gonna get to California again too. So
Good. Well, you're welcome anytime to come out that way as well. And there's always something else to see out there. So,
thank you very much.
yep, absolutely. So. Well, thank you guys for getting that lined out. I really appreciate that.
That was good.
Want to thank Mark Schoepf for spending time with us. I know he's really busy this time of year. If it wasn't a windy day, which a windy day is like 30-mile-an-hour winds in West Texas, if it wasn't a windy day, he'd be out spraying right now and continuing to farm. So we really appreciate
Him taking the time
Yeah.
with us.
yeah.
Final takeaways. What? Whoa! I sound louder. Sorry. I think it's just in my head. Final takeaways. What?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
What'd you like? What'd you like about it? What'd you learn?
You know, what I've always enjoyed about Mark is that he is pretty straightforward. He's going to tell you what he's thinking. He's not really a BSer in the sense that he's going to, scoot around things. He's going to be straight to the point. He's going to tell you how he feels. He kind of wears everything on his sleeve.
What you see is what you get with him.
Yeah. And I like that about Josh as well. I know he's got that characteristic, and it's been a great. I've learned so much. I mean, we've known Mark and Deanne and Josh for a few years now, and every time I come out, I've learned something new, and it's just a great family to be a part of now, and we just enjoy spending time with them.
Family history too. I almost cried. I almost cried. Yeah, I'm a little sensitive, but no, it was. I don't know. It was just way different than what our family history.
Yeah.
And so hearing his family history was like, whoa. It's like mind blowing almost.
It's cool. It's cool to hear how far back his family goes. Here in West Texas, how they were in a different part of Texas, and they end up here in Crosby County, and the things that they've had to overcome to stay here, and they've been farming cotton,
Succeeding. They've been doing very well.
Farming cotton
where
from the
they
very
came from.
beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's cool. It's cool to see a family who has done it. This is in their bones now. This is who they are.
Yeah.
And it's awesome because I think, especially back home, we see, families who everybody does different things, and, there's not a traditional trade. Even in farming, you see families who have evolved, and, they were dairymen, and then they went into, I don't know, permanent crops or whatever, and it's kind of just changed. But to see a family who through and through,
Have stuck to their roots, really.
this is who they are. It's pretty cool. It's pretty impressive.
Yep. Well, again, thank you very much for listening. I do want to bring this up because we have had a lot of questions. We are filming all of our podcasts, so you can see those by going through the link on our website. We are also on YouTube, and so you can actually see us talking to these people, to ourselves, and we do have merch also.
Cool.
That's on. Whoa, Dre!
Flash
Whoa,
everybody.
Yeah, no, easy.
I gotta flash everybody.
So
Your bison.
that's yeah, we're all over the place. So we're having fun doing this, and we hope to bring you some more coming up very soon.
And thanks for the feedback. Keep it coming. We like knowing what you like, what you don't like. We are still very new at this, so we are going to get better at this, hopefully. So yeah, just continue giving us feedback, and we love to hear it. Even if it's constructive, that's all right too.
Yeah. And if there's anybody out there that wants to be interviewed, give us a call.
If you want us to tell your story, or if you know someone's story that needs to be told, or you're like, hey, my grandpa's, freaking cool, or I've got this neighbor or this teacher, whoever, send us an email at hello@outlawdesign.co. We'll have it in the show notes, or text us, call us, whatever. Find us on Instagram.
Kim Impossible.
We're on Instagram at outlaw.legacy. Send us a pigeon, whatever. Just let us know, and we would love.
Just as long as the pigeon returns.
Love to hear it.
Yeah.
We don't need any more pigeons in our house.
We don't need a pigeon to hang out. Just let us know. And that's it.
This is the Crossfire Podcast, brought to you by Outlaw Legacy.